like I've always been around wrestling. So I used to live next door to my cousin, right? And he was like a big wrestling fan. So when he kind of grew out of it, like everyone does, I got his hand-me-downs, I got his figures, I got the video games, I got all of that stuff, right? So I've always been a fan of wrestling. To the point where like when I was 9 years old, I was looking for training schools and I eventually found one, you know? So I started training when I was 9. Got on shows in like 2017 to 2019 is when I started getting branching out and stuff. And then obviously COVID happened. So, and in COVID, I wasn't really like with wrestling at all. Like my mind kind of went blank because it was a kind of deal where if I can't do it, I don't want to be around it. You know what I mean? But when COVID came back, obviously Pursuit Pro Wrestling started up and I went training there. And then it's just been a whirlwind, man. I debuted at a promotion called North Wrestling. I debuted for Progress Wrestling, Rev Pro Wrestling. I got to do GCW in the States, all in the span of a year. And it's led to the point where I'm signed to TNA now. So yeah, it's been a wild journey, bro. I'm at old training school, UKW. Liam used to wrestle there too. I'm pretty sure that's where he started as well. So he would come back to like hold some seminars and that type of deal. So one day I was at training and Liam pulled up. So, excuse me. And Liam started taking over the training on a Saturday, which is when me and my boys would train. So I got close to Liam there, and this was before COVID. And then obviously COVID happened, training shut down, and then like midway through lockdown, I got a text from him saying, "Yo, like I'm opening up this new training school with a guy called Nathan Black," and I was like, shit, I ain't got anywhere else to go. So as soon as like COVID restrictions lifted, PPW opened, I was there on the first day, still down there to this day. And you know, I couldn't be the person I am, I couldn't be the wrestler I am without them, you know, so I'll always be thankful to Nathan and Liam. My end goal is to be the greatest wrestler of all time, short and sweet. So I'm just trying to work my way up that ladder, man. Like with this new rebrand of TNA, I've said to myself ever since I signed the contract, like I want to be what AJ Styles was in 2002. Like I want to be what Josh Alexander is now. Like I want to be the guy for TNA. I think being the youngest X Division champion of all time would be a great start. So that's what my mind's set on right now. But yeah, man, world domination, that's the goal. So I've met Red Scorpion a couple of times. We actually met for the first time outside the All-In after party near Wembley, because obviously everyone in wrestling was around that weekend, and I ran into him there. And obviously Scorpion's friends with Liam, and him and a couple of the guys were, you know, just floating around Wembley, and I bumped into him and introduced himself. And yeah, he's been to North a couple of times, so I've met him a couple of times, but this is my first time working with him today. Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I mean, I heard a lot of good things about Scorpion. You know, he's an OG. He's been around for a while. And I feel like anyone with a training school, anyone with that kind of reputation where he's got like the trainees under him is like someone that's worth flying to a different country to wrestle, you know what I mean? So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a fun one. My first match in TNA was a scramble for the #1 contendership for the X Division belt. It was, let me see if I can list everyone off here. Let me see if I can remember. It was Leon Slater, Chris Bay, Jake Something, Jason Hotch, Alan Angels, Kevin Knight. Yeah, so it was a 6-way scramble for the #1 contendership for the X Division title. So I've actually done my first taping, which was in Canada, which was the beginning of March. And then I fly out for the next taping on Friday to Vegas for a weekend in Vegas with TNA. Yeah, so on the Saturday, on the Rebellion Countdown show, it's me and ABC, which is Chris Bay and Ace Austin, versus the Rascals, which is Trey Miguel, Zachary Wentz, and Myron Reed. And then on the Sunday, I got a singles with Myron Reed. So Impact, when it was still Impact, came over to the UK to do a tour last year. And I had met Josh Alexander at a previous show in like Manchester, and he'd seen me and he'd liked my stuff. So when Impact came over, I kept in contact with Josh, tried to keep in contact with Impact too, and I managed to get on all 4 of the tour dates. And I was the only UK talent to get on all 4 of the dates. So I kind of had like a little inkling that, you know, they might be interested. And I think it was the 3rd day of the tour in Coventry. I had a match with Frankie Kazarian, and Scott Demore, who was president at the time, came out after the match and offered me the contract. So it's one of them things that like you see happen to other people and you never think it's gonna happen to you. So it was like very, very surreal, and it still doesn't feel real that I'm like a TNA wrestler, you know what I mean? Because I'm just me, you know what I mean? I ain't nothing special, but yeah, it's very surreal. I'm very grateful for it. That was one of the biggest pluses to going with TNA rather than somewhere like an AEW or a WWE where it's a lot more limited. Like, I can still live in the UK, so I can still have my normal family life. I can still come to places like Bologna and wrestle world champions all over the world. I can still do all the UK indies. I can still go to America now. I've got the visa, which is kind of like the golden ticket. And yeah, man, TNA is like, I've had a super pleasant experience with it so far. It's been great. There's a time-old saying that like the best wrestling characters is you turned up to like 11. So like growing up, always hearing that, I tried to implement that into my own game, you know. So I don't feel like I'm too different from the youngest in charge in the ring. He's definitely a lot more arrogant than I am. He's definitely a lot more confident than I am. But yeah, I feel like me in the ring is my ideal version of what I want to be in real life, but turned up to 11, you know what I mean? And like in lockdown, I got super into basketball. So like I was watching all the Michael Jordan documentaries, the Kobe Bryant documentaries, LeBron documentaries. And I was seeing like these guys' mindsets and like how they switch when the game begins, you know? So I tried to implement that stuff too. So there definitely is a difference. But like I said, I really think it's me just turned up to 11. My guys growing up were always Shelton Benjamin, Jeff Hardy, and RVD. Those were my three guys growing up. So obviously I look up to them still to this day. And then obviously I've got people around me now that I look up to, people like Liam Slater, people like Nathan Black, people like Dan Maloney, who's gone to New Japan, people like my tag partner man like Darius. So yeah, I've been very blessed to have like a really solid group of like role models and like respectable people I can look up to.